Hey there, you're looking kind of cute. Don't forget to subscribe and check out all my other socials. Enjoy. The autumn leaves crunched underfoot as Carter James Donovan trudged home from his job at the local bookstore. His shoulders slumped under the weight of yet another day filled with snide comments and poorly concealed snickers. At 25, he thought he'd be past the point of caring what others thought about his name, but the constant jabs still stung. Pushing open the front door, he called out, "Mom, I'm home!" The aroma of freshly baked cookies wafted from the kitchen. His mother, Sandra, poked her head around the corner, a warm smile on her face. "Perfect timing, honey. I just pulled a batch out of the oven." Carter dropped his bag by the door and followed the enticing smell. As he reached for a cookie, his mother's keen eye caught the dejected look on his face. "What's wrong, sweetie?" she asked, concern etching her features. He sighed, sinking into a chair at the kitchen table. "It's my name, Mom. I can't take it anymore. The guys at work, they won't let up. It's like being back in high school all over again." Sandra's brow furrowed as she sat across from him. "Oh, Carter, I'm so sorry. What are they saying?" "The usual," he muttered, picking at the chocolate chip cookie. "Carter James Donovan? More like Farter Lames Dorkovan." He winced at the childish taunt. "I know it's stupid, but hearing it day in and day out, it wears you down, you know?" His mother reached across the table, clasping his hand. "I understand, honey, but your name has been in our family for generations. Your great-grandfather—" "I know, Mom," Carter interrupted, pulling his hand away. "But maybe it's time for a change. I've been thinking about it for a while now. What if I legally changed my name?" Sandra's eyes widened. "Change your name? But Carter, that's such a drastic step. Are you sure?" He nodded emphatically. "I've never been more sure of anything. I can't keep living like this, Mom. Every time someone calls my name, I cringe. That's no way to go through life." His mother's face softened. "I see how much this is hurting you, sweetie. But changing your name is a big decision. Why don't you give it some more thought? Sleep on it for a few nights. If you still feel the same way in a week, we can discuss it further." Carter opened his mouth to argue, but thought better of it. He knew his mother was just trying to look out for him. "All right, Mom. I'll think about it some more." Sandra smiled, relief evident in her eyes. "That's all I ask. Now why don't you take these cookies up to your room? A little sugar always helps me when I'm feeling down." He managed a small smile, gathering a handful of cookies onto a napkin. "Thanks, Mom. I think I'm going to turn in early tonight." As he climbed the stairs to his bedroom, Carter couldn't shake the feeling that something had to change. He'd been Carter James Donovan for 25 years, and for 25 years, he'd been miserable. There had to be more to life than this. Settling onto his bed, he pulled out his laptop and began researching the name change process. The more he read, the more convinced he became that this was the right decision. He just had to figure out what name he wanted. Hours passed as Carter scrolled through countless baby name websites. Nothing felt right. Too common, too weird, too similar to his current name. Frustration mounting, he slammed the laptop shut and flopped back onto his pillow. "This is hopeless," he muttered to the empty room. Just then, a soft tapping sound came from his window. Carter sat up, peering through the darkness. A faint green glow pulsed on the other side of the glass. Cautiously, he approached the window and lifted the sash. A cool breeze rushed in, carrying with it a tiny figure that hovered at eye level. Carter blinked, sure he must be dreaming. Before him floated a diminutive creature with gossamer wings and skin that shimmered with an otherworldly green light. "Hello, Carter James Donovan," the fairy spoke, its voice like tinkling bells. "I couldn't help but overhear your plight." He rubbed his eyes, but the fairy remained. I must be going crazy. You're not real." The fairy giggled, a sound like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. "Oh, I assure you I'm quite real, and I'm here to help you with your name problem." Carter's jaw dropped. You can do that?" The fairy nodded, pirouetting in midair. "Indeed I can. But first, you must follow my instructions precisely. Are you willing to do that?" Without hesitation, Carter nodded. "Yes, anything. Please help me." "Very well," the fairy said, its green glow intensifying. "Listen carefully. Tomorrow morning you must wake before dawn. Go to the old oak tree in the park and circle it 3 times counterclockwise. Then speak aloud the name you wish to have, but choose wisely, for once spoken, it cannot be undone." Carter's heart raced with excitement. "That's it? Just circle a tree and say a new name?" The fairy's expression turned serious. "It may sound simple, but magic rarely is. Remember, the name you choose will shape your destiny. Choose a name that reflects who you truly are inside." With that, the fairy vanished in a shower of sparkling green dust, leaving Carter alone in his room once more. He barely slept that night, his mind whirling with possibilities. As the first hints of dawn crept across the sky, Carter slipped out of the house and made his way to the park. The old oak tree stood sentinel in the center of the park, its gnarled branches reaching towards the lightning sky. Carter approached it, his heart pounding in his chest. Taking a deep breath, he began to circle the tree counterclockwise. 1, 2, 3. He came to a stop, facing east as the sun peeked over the horizon. In that moment, a name came to him. A name that felt right, that felt like home. "Olivia," he whispered. Then louder, with more confidence, "My name is Olivia." A warm breeze rustled through the leaves, and for a split second, Carter thought he saw a flash of green light. Then everything was still. Feeling somewhat foolish, but also strangely hopeful, Carter made his way back home. He slipped into bed, exhausted from the early morning adventure and the emotional toll of the past few days. When he next opened his eyes, sunlight was streaming through the window. Carter stretched, noticing immediately that something felt different. His body felt lighter, softer somehow. Sitting up, he gasped. Long chestnut brown hair spilled over his shoulders. He brought a hand to his face, feeling smooth skin where stubble should have been. Heart racing, Olivia, stumbled to the full-length mirror on the back of the bedroom door. The reflection that stared back was unmistakably female. Soft curves replaced angular lines, and delicate features graced a face that was both familiar and entirely new. "Oh my God," Olivia breathed, her voice higher and melodious. "It worked! It actually worked!" A knock at the door made her jump. "Carter?" her mother's voice called. "Are you up? Breakfast is ready." Panic seized Olivia. How was she going to explain this to her mother? I'm not feeling well," she called back, trying to deepen her voice. "I think I'm going to stay in bed today." "Oh, sweetie, do you need anything? Some soup, maybe?" "No, thanks, Mom. I just need to rest." "All right, honey. Let me know if you change your mind." As her mother's footsteps retreated, Olivia sank onto the bed, her mind reeling. What was she going to do now? She couldn't hide in her room forever. Just then, her phone buzzed with a text from her best friend, Emily. "Hey, want to grab coffee? I have some big news." Olivia stared at the phone, an idea forming. If anyone could help her navigate this bizarre situation, it was Emily. She quickly texted back, "Actually, can you come over? I have some news too, and, bring some clothes with you. It's hard to explain, but I really need your help." Emily's response was immediate. "On my way. Should I be worried?" "No," Olivia typed, a smile tugging at her lips. "Just open-minded." 30 minutes later, a knock sounded at Olivia's bedroom door. "Carter, it's Emily. Your mom let me in. She said you weren't feeling well?" Taking a deep breath, Olivia opened the door a crack. Emily's eyes widened in shock. "Oh my God," she whispered. "Carter?" Olivia nodded, opening the door wider to let her friend in. "It's a long story, but I go by Olivia now." Emily entered the room, her gaze never leaving Olivia's face. What? I don't understand." Olivia sank onto the bed, patting the space beside her. "You might want to sit down for this." Over the next hour, Olivia recounted the events of the past day. The fairy, the spell at the oak tree, waking up in a new body. To her credit, Emily listened without interruption, her expression shifting from disbelief to wonder. When Olivia finished, Emily let out a long breath. Wow, just wow. So you're really a girl now, like, permanently? Olivia nodded. I think so. And the craziest part is, it feels right, like this is who I was always meant to be. Emily reached out, squeezing Olivia's hand. Well, then I'm happy for you. But girl, we need to get you some clothes that fit. And maybe give you a crash course in being female. There's a lot to learn. Olivia laughed, relief washing over her. That's why I asked you to bring clothes. Think you can help me out? Are you kidding? This is like a makeover on steroids. I'm so in. The next few hours were a whirlwind of activity. Emily helped Olivia sort through the clothes she'd brought, finding items that fit her new body. They giggled as Olivia struggled with bra clasps and nearly toppled over trying to walk in heels. Okay, maybe we'll save the stilettos for another day, Emily laughed, steadying her friend. Let's stick with flats for now. As the sun began to set, Olivia stood before the mirror, barely recognizing herself. She wore a flowing sundress in a soft blue that brought out the green in her eyes. Emily had helped style her hair into loose waves and applied a touch of makeup. What do you think? Emily asked, standing behind her. Olivia smiled, twirling to watch the dress flutter around her legs. I feel like myself for the first time in my life. Emily hugged her tightly. I'm so happy for you, Liv. But what are you going to tell your mom? And everyone else? The smile faded from Olivia's face. I don't know. I can't exactly tell them the truth. They'd think I was crazy. We'll figure it out, Emily assured her. For now, why don't you come stay at my place for a few days? We can say Carter went on a last-minute trip, and that should buy us some time to come up with a plan. Olivia nodded gratefully. That sounds perfect. Thank you, Em. I don't know what I'd do without you. As they packed a bag for Olivia, Emily's phone chimed with a text. Her face lit up as she read it. Oh, I almost forgot to tell you my news. Remember that cute guy from the coffee shop? He finally asked me out. Olivia grinned, genuinely happy for her friend. That's fantastic, Em. When's the date? Tomorrow night, Emily replied, her cheeks flushing. But I don't want to abandon you when you're going through all this. Don't be silly, Olivia insisted. You've already done so much for me today. You should absolutely go on that date. Emily bit her lip, considering, well, why don't you come with us? We could make it a double date. I bet my friend Jason would love to meet you. Olivia's eyes widened. A date? With a guy? I don't know, Em. I'm not sure I'm ready for that. It doesn't have to be a real date, Emily assured her. Just think of it as practice, a chance to get used to interacting with people as Olivia. After a moment's hesitation, Olivia nodded. Okay, you're right. It might be good practice, but promise me you'll bail me out if things get weird? Emily held up her hand solemnly. Best friend's honor. Now, let's get you packed up and over to my place. We've got a big day tomorrow. The next evening found Olivia standing in front of Emily's full-length mirror, nervously smoothing down the front of her dress. Emily had lent her a beautiful emerald green wrap dress that hugged her body in all the right places. You look amazing, Emily assured her, applying a final coat of mascara. Jason isn't going to know what hit him. Olivia managed a shaky smile. I'm not trying to hit anyone. I just want to get through this evening without making a complete fool of myself. Emily laughed, linking her arm through Olivia's. You'll be fine. Just be yourself. As they walked to the restaurant, Olivia couldn't help but marvel at how different the world felt from this new perspective. She noticed men's gazes lingering on her in a way they never had before, and found herself hyper-aware of her own movements, the sway of her hips, the placement of her hands. The guys were already waiting when they arrived at the restaurant. Emily's date, Tom, greeted her with a warm hug and a kiss on the cheek. Jason, a tall man with kind brown eyes, smiled at Olivia. You must be Olivia, he said, his voice deep and pleasant. Emily's told me a lot about you. Olivia shot a panicked glance at her friend, who quickly jumped in. All good things, of course. Liv and I go way back. As they were seated, Olivia found herself relaxing slightly. The conversation flowed easily, with Emily deftly steering topics away from anything that might trip Olivia up. Halfway through the meal, Jason leaned in close to Olivia. So, what do you do for work? Olivia froze for a moment before remembering the cover story they'd concocted. I'm actually between jobs right now, trying to figure out my next move. Jason nodded sympathetically. I know how that feels. I switched careers a couple years ago. It was scary, but ultimately the best decision I ever made. As he talked about his own experiences, Olivia found herself genuinely engaged in the conversation. There was something comforting about Jason's presence, a steadiness that put her at ease. The evening passed in a blur of good food, laughter, and increasingly comfortable conversation. Before Olivia knew it, they were standing outside the restaurant saying their goodbyes. I had a really great time tonight, Jason said, his eyes locked on Olivia's. Would it be okay if I called you sometime? Olivia's heart raced. This was more than she'd bargained for. Emily swooped in to the rescue. Liv's going through some stuff right now. Maybe we could all hang out again as friends? Jason's smile never faltered. That sounds great. No pressure at all. As they walked home, Emily nudged Olivia playfully. So, Jason seemed to like you, Olivia groaned. I can't think about dating right now. I'm still trying to figure out how to be a girl, let alone someone's girlfriend. I know, Emily laughed. But admit it, you had fun tonight. A smile tugged at Olivia's lips. Yeah, I did. It was nice to just be a normal for a change. The next few days passed in a whirlwind of activity. Emily took Olivia shopping for a proper wardrobe, patiently explaining the mysteries of cup sizes and the importance of a good moisturizer. They practiced makeup techniques and spent hours talking about Olivia's new life. One afternoon, as they strolled through the park eating ice cream cones, Olivia spotted a group of familiar faces heading their way. Her blood ran cold as she recognized the guys from work, the same ones who had tormented her as Carter. She hissed, grabbing her friend's arm. Those guys coming this way? They're the ones who used to bully me. Emily's eyes narrowed. Want to leave? We can go the other way. Olivia hesitated, then shook her head. No, I'm tired of running from them. As the group of men approached, Olivia steeled herself. One of them, a broad-shouldered guy named Mike, called out, Hey ladies, looking good! Olivia tensed, waiting for the insults to follow, but they never came. Instead, Mike and his friends smiled appreciatively as they passed by. See something you like? Emily called back, her tone playful but with an edge of warning. The guys laughed good-naturedly and continued on their way. Olivia let out a breath she hadn't realized she'd been holding. You okay? Emily asked softly. Olivia nodded, a strange mix of emotions swirling inside her. Yeah, I've spent so long being afraid of them. And now they look at me like you're a beautiful woman they'd love to get to know? Emily finished with a grin. It's weird, Olivia admitted, but also kind of empowering. Emily linked her arm through Olivia's. Welcome to being a girl, honey. It's a mixed bag, but I wouldn't trade it for anything. As they continued their walk, Olivia found herself reflecting on how much her life had changed in just a few short days. She felt more confident, more at ease in her own skin than she ever had as Carter. Suddenly, a flash of green caught her eye. There, hovering near a cluster of flowers, was the fairy who had started it all. Olivia whispered. Do you see that? Emily followed her gaze, her eyes widening. Is that... The fairy beckoned to them, then darted behind a large oak tree. Without hesitation, Olivia followed, Emily also close behind. As they rounded the tree, they found themselves in a shimmering bubble of green light. The fairy hovered before them, its tiny face serious. Olivia, it spoke, its voice like tinkling bells. I see you've embraced your new life. Olivia nodded, a lump forming in her throat. I have. Thank you for giving me this chance. The fairy's expression softened. I'm glad, but I must warn you, there are those who would seek to undo what has been done. The magic that transformed you is powerful, and there are those who fear such power. Emily stepped forward protectively. Who? Those guys from earlier? The fairy shook its head. They are but pawns, unaware of the greater forces at play. Be vigilant, Olivia. Trust in yourself and in those who truly care for you. With that, the fairy vanished in a shower of sparkling green dust. The bubble of light faded, leaving Olivia and Emily standing alone beneath the oak tree. What do you think that was about? Emily asked, her voice hushed. Olivia shook her head, uncertainty gnawing at her. I don't know, but I have a feeling our lives are about to get a lot more complicated. As if on cue, angry shouts erupted from nearby. Olivia and Emily exchanged alarmed glances before rushing towards the sound. They emerged from the trees to find Mike and his friends confronting a group of menacing-looking individuals dressed all in black. The air crackled with tension, and Olivia could swear she saw faint wisps of dark energy swirling around the newcomers. Hey, Olivia called out, surprising herself with her own boldness. What's going on here? All eyes turned to her. Mike's face showed relief, while the dark-clad figures regarded her with a mixture of surprise and malice. Well, well, one of them sneered, his voice unnaturally deep. If it isn't the little changeling herself. Olivia's blood ran cold. How did they know? Emily stepped up beside her, fists clenched. Back off, creeps. You don't want to mess with us. The leader of the group laughed, a sound like grinding metal. Oh, but we do. You see, your friend here has upset the natural order of things, and we're here to set it right. Before anyone could react, the dark figures lunged forward. Olivia braced herself for impact, but it never came. Instead, a brilliant green light erupted around them, freezing the attackers in place. The fairy materialized between Olivia and the frozen assailants, its tiny form pulsing with power. You dare threaten one under my protection? It thundered, its voice now booming and authoritative. The leader of the dark group struggled against the magical bonds. This isn't over, fairy. The girl must be returned to her original form. The balance must be maintained. The fairy's eyes narrowed. The balance is not for you to decide. Olivia has found her true self, and that is all that matters. With a wave of its hand, the fairy enveloped the dark figures in a swirling vortex of green light. When it dissipated, where the menacing men had stood were now a group of confused-looking women. What happened? One of them asked, her voice high and uncertain. The fairy turned to Olivia, its expression softening. I have given them the same gift I gave you. Perhaps now they will understand the power of transformation and acceptance. Olivia stepped forward, addressing the newly transformed women. I know this is scary and confusing, but trust me when I say that this could be the best thing that's ever happened to you. The women looked at each other, then back at Olivia, a mix of fear and wonder in their eyes. Emily cleared her throat. Not to break up this magical moment, but what do we do now? We can't exactly explain this to the police. The fairy chimed in. Fear not, I have altered their memories. They will believe this has always been their true form. It is up to them now to embrace it or not. As the fairy spoke, the new women's expressions changed from confusion to acceptance. They began to examine their new bodies with growing interest and excitement. Olivia turned to Mike and his friends, who had been watching the entire scene with wide-eyed disbelief. Are you guys okay? Mike nodded slowly. Yeah, I think so. That was intense. You're pretty badass, you know that? Olivia couldn't help but laugh. Thanks. Listen, I know we got off on the wrong foot, but maybe we could start over? As friends this time? Mike grinned, extending his hand. I'd like that. I'm Mike. Olivia, she replied, shaking his hand. Nice to meet you, Mike. As the group began to disperse, the fairy pulled Olivia aside. You have handled this transition with grace and courage, Olivia. I knew I chose wisely when I granted your wish. Olivia smiled, her heart full of gratitude. Thank you for everything. I finally feel like I'm living the life I was meant to. The fairy nodded, a mischievous twinkle in its eye. Remember, the magic was always within you. I merely helped you find it. With a final wink, the fairy vanished in a shower of green sparkles. Emily wrapped an arm around Olivia's shoulders. So, bestie, what's next on the agenda for the newly empowered magical you? Olivia grinned, feeling a sense of excitement and possibility she'd never known before. You know what? I have no idea, but I can't wait to find out. As they walked arm in arm out of the park, Olivia felt a profound sense of peace wash over her. She had faced her fears, confronted those who sought to hold her back, and emerged stronger for it. Whatever challenges lay ahead, she knew she had the strength to face them. Not as Carter James Donovan, but as Olivia, the woman she was always meant to be. The sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in brilliant hues of pink and orange. Olivia took a deep breath, savoring the sweet scent of possibility on the evening air. Her new life was just beginning, and she was ready to embrace every moment of it. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to check out my other socials if you want more content, early access, behind the scenes, and more. All links down below.